is now a good time. If you're in that mid-stage career as a data scientist, is now a good time to make a move to a new opportunity because everyone's hiring. Everyone is begging for people that are in your position. 5 years of experience or more, especially if you are a senior data scientist, somebody with 7 to 10 years of experience. Maybe you have some software development experience or some engineering experience behind you, so your career could have spanned over 10 years. These are great times for you to be looking for a role. However, you have to be very selective right now. Why? Over the next 1 to 3 years, companies are going to go out of business because they haven't figured data science out. The COVID digital transformation acceleration, that's not hype. It really pushed forward a lot of companies' capabilities when it came to digitizing their offerings. That means data science and machine learning became a large part of their business and operating model, and that's going to be essential for survival going forward. However, there are a number of companies, very large, well-respected companies, who were unable to transform, who are unable to attract the kind of talent necessary to survive. These companies, over the next 1 to 3 years, are going to go out of business. So now is an amazing time for you to make a switch. Number one, if you find yourself in one of these companies. And what should you be looking for? Well, first and foremost, if the team can't hire, if you are constantly short-staffed and you're not able to meet project deadlines, or you're not able to take on as many projects as the business really needs you to in order to be successful company-wide with data science and machine learning capabilities, it is a great time to make a move. Because take a minute to think about this. What happens as the business begins to lose revenue? They have to cut back someplace. And eventually those cutbacks are going to dig into even the technology group, which they're heavily reliant upon. But it also costs a lot of money. And if the group itself isn't producing because they don't know, number one, how to hire enough people fast enough, or number two, they might not understand how to utilize you to produce those revenue generating projects that you know need to be done, that you know you need to be working on, and maybe you're having some trouble getting traction for them. That's only going to get worse as budgets get tighter, as revenues are put under pressure, as margins reduce. Your budget's just naturally going to follow that direction. That means fewer projects, not more. And eventually there will be waves of layoffs. And you don't want to be in one of these larger layoff cycles because remember, it's not just going to be your company laying people off. It's going to be a lot of other companies right around the same time running into the same struggles and challenges. And you don't want to be in one of those layoff cycles. Why? Well, because the marketplace is going to be flooded. And even though our employment outlook is amazing, we have an absolutely amazing opportunity right now, and that's not going to change. Demand is not going to get lower. It is only going to grow because companies understand, and especially as companies start to go out of business because they weren't able to compete in the data science and machine learning driven marketplace, it is only going to become more critical to hire high quality, your mid-career and senior career data scientists. However, all of those other companies that are inflating demand right now, who are really in a lot of trouble if they don't transform and hire right now, those companies' jobs are going to have closed. The first thing that companies do is they stop new hires to save money. And so many jobs over the next 1 to 3 years are simply going to be closed. And so the total number of jobs available is going to drop. And then if you release over the next 1 to 3 years in these waves that are quarterly and annual in nature, you're going to have a lot of waves of layoffs happening at the same time. And so you won't be unemployed for 6 months. That's not going to happen. But you may find yourself unemployed and looking for work for a month, 2 months, 3 months while you go through the process, which is going to have a whole lot more candidates. So it will naturally become lengthier. These 6-week hiring cycles will go away for a pretty extended period of time. And so you'll be out of work potentially for a couple of months, which isn't ideal. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that period where you're forced to look for a new job. It's horrible. And I would recommend that you avoid at all costs finding yourself at a company that in the near term could very well be laying people off, could be doing staff reductions and force reductions. So now's a good time to start looking and trying to find a company that is more stable, that is more mature, that's going to utilize your capabilities in a way that it can sustain its business and operating model, and it won't be impacted by the competitors who are better able to leverage data science and machine learning. So it's a good time to start looking, but don't find yourself transitioning from a great company to a terrible company, to a company that in a year from now could be laying you off. But also in your current position, look for signs that your company is struggling. Are key positions not being filled? Because people are leaving, people are quitting right now. And if your company is struggling to fill key positions, that's a sign of trouble ahead. Are you finding your leadership evaporating, where someone departs and that leadership position isn't filled and your team's kind of in limbo? That's a bad sign. Are key roles that connect you to other parts of the business, that connect you to the value creation processes so your projects are more impactful? Things like product managers. Are those roles vacated and never filled? Are people being transferred to other units and other organizations? And not all of this is bad. If an effort is being made to consolidate the organization, that's not a bad thing. That's actually a sign of maturity. But if roles aren't being filled, and there's these vacuums of capabilities that are being left, everything from potentially machine learning engineers who are required to get things into production to more advanced roles to leadership roles. If those are just not being filled, you're in a bad situation. You're in a place where you could be threatened. Your livelihood could be threatened over the next 1 to 3 years. And it's a great time to move, and to move to a company that's more mature, because right now you have time and there's a ton of demand. So you can take the next 3 months to find a good role. You can pick and choose right now. But in a year, 2, 3 years, you may not be able to. You may not be in such a powerful position. What should you be looking for in an organization that you're moving into? First and foremost, a good leadership structure. The second piece is a good connection to the rest of the business. Is data science well understood from a value creation standpoint? Is the data science team building interesting projects? And are they able to talk specifically to the types of business impacts they're having? Maybe they're not going to give you dollar values because you're outside of the company and that's part of the secret sauce. But they should be able to be talking about what part of the business do they drive? What parts of the business do they support? How are their efforts connected, just in very, very basic and high-level ways, to the way the company is operating, to the vision of what comes next, of the future of the business? How is the business adapting to better utilize data scientists, better utilize the technology? Do they have a comprehensive strategy? Not every business has an AI strategy yet. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in trouble or they're in a bad place. You want to hear that they're working towards it, that they have an idea that the field itself needs a strategy, that the technology itself needs to be managed at a strategic level, that there is organization-wide buy-in to centralize this organization so that it's not scattered all throughout, doing different things in different directions, sometimes contradictory. So there is a move towards maturity. There is this concept that we are at place here, and they know what the place is. They know and understand their maturity level right now. And they can talk to how just the business is planning to move forward, to get better, to improve their level of maturity and be able to leverage the technology better, to be able to make more money with it. You want to hear those types of ideas coming out of the entire team almost. You want the team to understand its place in the business. You want to hear that coming from the team's leadership. That's why I say leadership is really important, because leadership creates that connection. It creates that unified direction. And so leadership needs to be more than just managers. Those are signs of mature teams in mature organizations that are growing in the right direction. That's where you want to work. Those are the companies and the organizations that will give you the opportunity to have a good long career. And right now is an excellent time to make a move into one of those, or potentially out of a situation which now doesn't look horrible, but you start seeing the signs that in the very near future you are going to be challenged. If you just don't feel like you're making a business impact, that in and of itself can be enough of a reason to say, I think it's time, career-wise, for you to take a look around and see if there's someplace where there's a better opportunity for growth, for longevity, for stability even. And it's not just about getting a higher salary, because you're definitely going to get a bump going from wherever you are now to someplace else, especially mid-career, senior career. You're going to get a bump. It's going to be good. But don't sacrifice your long-term career health for a short-term career gain. That's why it's important to evaluate the companies that you're going to potentially apply to, network your way into. And this is why sending out your resume is probably a bad idea, because you're not going to get as much of a sense of where the business is and where it's going until you're well into the interview process. That's going to waste a lot of your time. Networking your way in, especially when you're at a senior level, is really easy because your value is obvious. You're trying to understand the company and the fit, and a hiring manager or anyone at a leadership level is going to recognize what you're doing and want to engage with you. Maybe they don't hire you this week, this year, but they want to start building a relationship with you so that maybe in 2022 they can attempt to poach you and bring you into the organization. So you're going to find a lot of people are very receptive to your outreach. You're going to get good quality answers to the questions that you have about their organization. And in many cases, your value is going to grow because you aren't just looking to move, you're looking to make an intelligent move. You understand what a good team looks like and a good fit looks like, and you're not just desperately looking for a place to land. And that's the advantage of making a move right now. But realize if you're in a good company and in a good situation, a move comes with some inherent risk that you may be going to an organization that will, over the next few years, struggle. And you could end up setting back your career. So it's important to do the background, not only on your own company, but also any company that you're thinking about applying to before you go through the process. And if they're not open to discussing where the team is going, it's probably a bad fit. I mean, why wouldn't you want someone to be interested? Why wouldn't you want to talk up how great your team is, what kind of projects you're working on, and how much of an impact you're making on the larger business? Who loves you outside of the data science team is something that we take a lot of pride in. The amount of value that we produce for the business. As leaders, we take a lot of pride in that. We want to talk about that. We kind of brag about it. It's not hard to get us to open up about these things. But if it is, huge red flag. So spend the time, think about making a move now, but make a move to something that's a better long-term situation for you. Think about where you are now and consider, even if you haven't been thinking about making a move, if you're really happy where you are right now, it's still worth evaluating your company and your situation, because I've been at companies where I was very, very happy and then things got bad. The company wasn't able to execute on its strategy and things, I wasn't so happy. And it's a drastically fast turnaround from job satisfaction to hating to show up. So look a little bit into the future and realize even if you're in a great situation right now, that could change. And it could change very quickly. And waiting until that time to make a move it's a whole lot harder when you're burnt out to try to sound enthusiastic about going into a new role and not sound desperate to get out of your current fire that you can't wait to leave. You can, as a hiring manager, trust me, I can hear it. And I am always wary about people who are burnt out because I understand that there's a curve where they are going to have to almost recover from their previous job before they're ready to be a high performer again. And in some cases, that's a long curve. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I hear somebody who's burnt out, as much as I sympathize with their situation and I want to pull them out of that situation, I'm also wary of the fact that they're going to come in to the organization. And in some cases, that burnout's toxic unless it's managed very well. And that's going to take a lot of work on my part. And a lot of data scientists, especially mid-career, senior level, worth the effort. Well worth the effort. But at some point, people get jaded beyond the point of recovery where they literally need 2 or 3 months of vacation to recover from what their last job did to them. Don't wait until you're in that boat because your mental health has been just devastated. It's hard to come back from that. So another great reason to evaluate the trajectory of your situation, not just your current situation, is your own personal well-being. Don't go through a bad situation if you can see it coming. If you can look for some basic signs, like the ones that I've pointed out, and if you see them, it's probably a good time to either, and there's an opportunity for you to try to improve your situation and bring the business forward. And I definitely encourage you to take that opportunity. Because from a career growth standpoint, if you can help the business stay in business, if you can help the business make that transformation, it's great experience. You will have more opportunity going forward. And within that business, the situation you're in right now, that you are improving, you're worth your weight in gold. I mean, you have a reputation in that business and your career trajectory is going to take off. So there's opportunities if you see pain in front of you to improve. However, some businesses simply aren't set up for it. You are not the owner of all of these processes that need to change and evolve in order for you to be successful and for the business to be successful. And if there's not a willingness and a pretty high level of buy-in that this change needs to happen and the maturity needs to move forward, you're not going to be very successful. And so don't bang your head against a wall. If it doesn't move, if other people don't cooperate with you and help you out, it's time to look at a different situation. You're not abandoning ship. You're not leaving these people in the lurch. You've given your business best effort. But if it's not going anywhere, protect yourself, protect your career, protect your health and well-being. Yes, it's a great time. If you are mid to senior career to be looking for a job, you're going to get that pay bump. You can, if you go through the right steps, find a more stable situation. You can understand the stability of your situation and prevent yourself from making a bad move where you're in a company that's growing and growing in the right direction and you leave at the early stages right before things get even better. Evaluate where you are. Evaluate any potential opportunity. Don't make that hasty decision just because you're going to get a pay bump. Make sure that you're setting yourself up for long-term success, but definitely, if you're in that mid to senior level career stage and you're thinking now, is it the time to make a move? Yes, it's a great time. And potentially a year or two from now, it will be much, much harder. And the good opportunities will be fewer and fewer, harder to find, more competition for them. So is now a good time to make a move? Yeah, definitely is.